Breaking news for the Cardano ecosystem. We've officially entered a brand new era with full-on governance taking place following the Plomin hard fork and the brand new epoch boundary. Now, as a part of today's video, I want to talk about exactly what this means for the community and every single ADA holder out there, and then exactly what comes next with the upcoming annual budget and a brand new Cardano 2025 roadmap recently released by IOG. Oh, what's up, ADA gang? Welcome into Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. We've got a big day here for the Cardano ecosystem, entering the Voltaire era, taking on full governance, really and truly becoming one of the most decentralized blockchains out there, which is now fully driven, right? Fully controlled by the Cardano community. Now we've also got access to Cardano's treasury, valued at over $1.4 billion. And we're now also getting the ability to utilize delegate representatives here. As a part of today's video, we're diving into everything that has officially been unlocked and exactly what we can expect moving forward following the Plomin hard fork. Now, before we go any further, if it's your first time stopping by the channel, my goal is to help you find your footing within the Cardano and Bitcoin ecosystems. If you appreciate content like this, please smash that thumbs up on the way in. If you want more, consider subscribing to the channel. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave those down below. Now, I'm also a stake pool operator in the ecosystem. And if you'd like to show your support for the channel, consider delegating with either of the two Dapp Central stake pools, both sharing the ticker DAPP. Without any further ado, let's jump right on in. We've got the official enactment of governance in full effect here for Cardano, with the Plomin hard fork kicking off or being introduced at the last epoch's boundary. So this is big news here. We've been working on this for quite a while. SIP number 1694 officially available again, now really bringing Cardano into the age of Voltaire, where anybody within the Cardano community now has the ability to put out a proposal, right, as to what could potentially be done better. And there's a lot of things that we can change, right? So we can change the existing constitutional committee. We can change different parameters. We can make withdrawals. And then on top of that, we can also make informational updates that we want to potentially capture here on chain. So it reads here from the official Intersect MBO, the first community enacted hard fork has taken place and is now in full effect on the Cardano mainnet, unleashing the power of the community to decide the future of Cardano. Up next, we've got the delegate endorsed Constitution and the first ever DREP vote. So if you have not already delegated to a DREP, please make sure to do so. I'll break and highlight that here in just a moment. But in addition to that, I want to talk about two other things that are extremely important that we're going to be tackling here as a community in the next 90 to 100 days. So first, we've got the upcoming Cardano Constitution, where in Argentina at the Constitutional Convention, the delegate representatives from all around the globe basically came in and were in majority or in favor of approving the draft constitution. I'll share that with you guys here in just a moment. That was a big vote there in majority. I think it was 95% to 5. And so that's going to be the first thing that we have to do, is actually take that draft constitution that the delegates have approved and actually ratify that on chain using governance, now that DREPs are online, now that SPOs can vote, and now that the ICC is in full effect. So that's the first major step here, is the official approval of the Cardano Constitution. Now I'm going to show you guys how you can get to that and exactly what it currently entails. It's a massively long document, so of course I can't break it down in today's video, but it might be beneficial, right, to maybe break that down in bite-sized chunks in separate videos. So if you potentially want content like that, let me know down below. I'm always open to suggestions here from you and the viewers in the community. But that's the first thing, the Cardano Constitution. The second is the Cardano annual budget. Now I'm going to break down a couple of key dates here, where there's going to be an open forum for anybody to jump in and make contributions or even just ask questions about the budget. But we need to figure out how much, first off, we're going to be spending in the year of 2025, and then what are we actually spending that on. Now, if I'm not mistaken, last I personally heard, the budget was aiming to withdraw anywhere between, I want to say it was 150 million ADA all the way to 300 million ADA. But as the price of ADA fluctuates, keep in mind that we may not have to pull out that much, especially if the price of ADA appreciates. Now, having said that, the third piece that's going to be important here is going to be the Cardano Roadmap. What's impressive is that we've got an official roadmap that was just released by IOG. I'm going to dive into that here in just a moment as well. But there's a couple of key focuses here, which I think, again, deserve a full breakdown as a part of a separate video series. So I'll be working to, number one, digest that for myself, but then number two, share that here with you guys. And then again, as a brief reminder, all of these three big steps, the Constitution, the annual budget, and the roadmap, all need to be agreed on, or will need to be agreed on, within the next 90 to 100 days. So if you're a DREP, get ready. You're about to be tapped on the shoulder. If you're an SPO, make sure to get your stake pool updated and make sure to be ready to vote. And then if you're one of the 7 members of the ICC, make sure to get ready to go ahead and vote there as well. This is the time for everybody in Cardano to finally stand up. So let's jump back in here and finish up the updates here as it pertains to the Plomin upgrade. If you notice any issues, they do leave a couple of links here to GitHub where you can report issues to the Intersect MBO. I'll leave the link to that down below. But let's quickly jump in here and just highlight the endorsed Cardano Constitution. Again, links to this will be left down below, but it states that this particular document represents the Cardano blockchain ecosystem constitution endorsed by an overwhelming majority of delegates, and this was back in Argentina, of 95% during the Constitutional Convention. It will formally act as the official constitution if voted in or if ratified on chain. So even though the delegates have sort of approved it right now, that wasn't an approval that was actually done on chain, a record kept on chain. That's what's going to be coming up here as the first vote for DREP. So it's going to be a massive vote here for anybody that wants to find out more about that. Now, as I scroll down here, there's a preamble and there's a really interesting section here about the core tenets and some of the blockchain rails or guardrails for Cardano. And one of them here is actually really interesting. And it talks about the fact that Cardano will be capped at 45 billion tokens forever. Now, of course, again, this is probably for a separate video, but there's just a lot of information here, which is obviously useful, but I just can't break all of that down here. But you do have the entire Cardano Constitution, which is proposed or which will be proposed here on chain for that first ever vote. Now, if you have any questions, I'll leave the link to this down below as well, where they break down the process from beginning to end and exactly how you can participate either by delegating to a DREP or by actually registering as a direct voter yourself. Now, if you want to do either of those two things, you can head over to gov.tools. Again, links are left down below as a part of today's video description. But they've got a DREP directory. And from here, you can basically review and delegate your ADA, right? Keep in mind your ADA never leaves your wallet to a particular DREP, and they can vote on your behalf. On this website as well, you can actually register as a direct voter, meaning that you want to take it upon yourself to actually cast your own vote. In terms of governance actions or potential proposals, we've got a couple of them here, which are all informational, but this is a form where you can start to see conversations bubbling up here before we actually get action submitted on chain. Keep in mind that when you are going to be submitting an action on chain, that you will have to put up collateral, which right now is 100,000 ADA. And this is just to make sure that people don't spam the network unnecessarily, and that when they do put something out, that it's almost sort of like putting their money where their mouth is. Now, if you want to find out more about the upcoming budget process, there will be a session or 2 actual sessions taking place, one on January 28th and then one on January 30th. And this is going to be the next big focus. And so as we've discussed, we've got the Constitution, that vote is coming up. And then after that, once we've figured out the budget, that will then go on chain for a second vote for the community to jump in on. So again, this is a very, very pivotal time for the community to jump in. And I mean, I'm excited, but I'm also a little bit nervous, because what other types of proposals are we going to get? Who's going to be putting in withdrawal proposals? Who's going to be putting in parameter changes? Who's going to be putting in informational changes? There's just going to be a lot to keep up with. And for me personally, that's why I've chosen to sort of step aside right now and not register as a DREP yet. And that's because I just want to better understand the landscape, the time requirements, the commitments before actually taking that upon myself, because I want to make sure that I'm doing any of my potential delegators right by voting in their favor and by being informed about all the potential votes that'll be coming down the pipes. And so that actually leads me to another point, which is remuneration or just payment, right? For DREPs, SPOs, or even members of the ICC. Right now, everybody's doing governance for completely free, but that might actually be a vote that comes in, or a potential proposal that comes in, which is, should DREPs, should ICC members, or should SPOs be paid for their job? Because again, this is going to take time, especially when we've got hundreds of proposals potentially in the future, right? Which all need to be voted on. People are going to have to take time to actually read them, understand them, and then actually vote for them. And all of that is precious. And so having said that, I think that that may be one of the first proposals that we see coming online, just talking, or at least engaging, right? Or starting conversation about payments for some of the participants here when it comes to governance. Now, some people might say that they don't agree with that, but I'd love to hear your take as it pertains to that. Jumping over into by far one of my favorite websites now when it comes to governance here, I want to quickly shout out AdaStats, or adastat.net. Links are down below, for their platform here and just how simple they make visualizing some of these Cardano governance actions. Check this out here. Again, we've got pretty simple layout. On the left-hand side, you've got the ICC, or the Interim Constitutional Committee, confirming whether things are constitutional or not. In the middle, you've got the DREP stake, or the DREP vote. And then we've now got the SPO votes here on the right-hand side. And of course, once we get this brand new action to ratify the draft constitution, that'll show up here as a new line item. So that'll do it there for the Plomin hard fork, Cardano jumping into Voltaire, full governance in effect. It's a huge milestone. Congrats to IOG, congrats to the Cardano Foundation, and of course, congrats to Emergo and the entire Cardano community for sticking through the bear and finally getting to this particular point. And jumping into the very last topic here, we've got the 2025 Cardano Roadmap released by IOG just not too long ago. And I want to break down a couple of key pieces here, kicking off with the focus on scalability. And so if you aren't aware, we've got a lot of layer 2 scaling solutions about to come online. There's first the mention of Hydra using or implementing state channels. And if you've missed it, Doom on Hydra just broke the 1 million TPS record. We just saw the official tournament taking place in Vegas. I recorded all of that content. Make sure to go ahead and check it out. But that's going to be a key focus here for the coming year. In addition, we've got layer 2 rollup solutions, which include ZK proofs and optimistic rollups. And so we've got, for example, things like Midgard. We've also got things like Sundial. We've got the Sky Protocol, a data availability layer protocol. And then we've also got the mention here of Ouroboros, Laos, and Paris to increase transaction throughput. On top of that, we've got a mention for Mithril certificates, making loading the Cardano node or loading historical versions of the Cardano blockchain that much easier, right? So when a new operator's coming online and they need to sync with the existing blockchain, something like Mithril makes that process easier. In addition, we've got updates coming in for the Catalyst voting platform, and then we've got some core Cardano node improvements. So exciting things to see there when it comes to scalability. Next, we've got usability and utility. And so just thinking out loud here, right? When it comes to crypto and blockchain, last bull market was really focused on NFTs, and we saw a lot of NFT marketplaces doing really well. As of late, obviously the focus has shifted out of NFTs, but now into DePIN, RWAs or real world assets, and then meme coins. So we need to sort of keep up here with the ecosystem, whether or not we like that fact that that's where the attention is. I mean, that just is what it is. So some people might not like meme coins, but platforms like Snack.fun really cater, right, to something like Pump.fun, which has done extremely well on Solana. And so I think we need to, in terms of usability, focus on some of the key niches, some of the things that are attracting liquidity in the other ecosystems, and make sure to implement those here in the Cardano ecosystem. Now, here from IOG's perspective, they talk about improving developer productivity. They also talk about enabling Hyperledger Identis, previously known as Atala Prism. Now, there's also the mention here of Midnight, and then we've got simplifying transactions through the use of Babel Feast. So imagine a scenario where you may not necessarily have ADA to transact in your wallet, but you might hold a lot of other Cardano native assets. and being able to actually settle your transaction fee or make your transaction fee using a Cardano native asset as opposed to ADA. Jumping into the last piece here, we've got talks about interoperability and extensibility, where Charles has recently mentioned making Cardano a peninsula. And this breaks down the fact that we've got a pretty big connection into the Cosmos ecosystem through their IBC, or their inter-blockchain communication protocol. In addition, we've got updates here when it comes to the partner chain framework, with the mentions of the multi-resource consensus feature, also known as Minotaur. There's extensibility through the service layers provided by partner chains. And then at the very bottom here, there's the mention of Cardano as the smart contract layer for Bitcoin. Charles has definitely made this a point here as of late. Of course, there was a lot of hype around Bitcoin OS, but he's touted the fact that not Cardano, Bitcoin's liquidity is, I want to say, like 4 times the size of ETH, Solana, and a few other blockchains combined. And so taking the liquidity, which is massive from there, but then also looking at the fact that Cardano is EUTXO, which Bitcoin is UTXO, it really only makes sense that, the Bitcoin community comes into Cardano in order to leverage, in order to at least put their Bitcoin and that value to use here in the ecosystem. So I'm excited to see that. Now, one thing that I did not see here, which I think is extremely important, are stable coins. So I'd love to hear, or at least see, what some of the core entities' thoughts are around that. Obviously, the community has been asking for a really long time now for USDT or USDC. Charles has mentioned integrating RLUSD from the XRP network, but then he's also mentioned backing up homegrown stable coins like USDM and USDA. So the stablecoin landscape, I think, is just as important here. Would love to see a little bit more focus on that. But I'll leave the link to this official document down below. I mean, again, this deserves an entire series on its own, given how much nuance there is here for each of these different topics. So I'm excited that IOG's taken the time, right, in the initiative to release something such as this, especially with this much detail. And again, I'll aim to break this down here once I've had the time to digest it. I believe that will bring us here to the end for today's video. Again, a massive day here for the Cardano ecosystem. The Plomin hard fork enacted, bringing along with it SIP number 1694, full-on governance, turning on DREPs, activating the ICC, and of course, tapping on the entire Cardano community. If you've enjoyed today's update, or if you've learned anything along the way, I would appreciate you if you could smash that thumbs up. If it's your first time stopping by the channel and you want more content just like this, consider subscribing. And last but not least, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave those down below. That said, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.